Country Journal presents Montana's 64th Legislature. Hello, I'm Rena Weatherelt. On January 27th, the House Agriculture Committee held a hearing on House Bill 179. Here's how that looked.
I am Representative Theresa Manzella, representing House District 85 and Valley County. The economy was tanking. We had a bad case of horse neglect descend upon the beautiful Bitterroot Valley. Long story short, I responded by starting a nonprofit horse rescue. I have rehomed 197 horses and infused almost 100 tons of hay into our community. The intent of this law was to add an additional layer of protection for animal-related businesses against illegal trespass and miscellaneous shenanigans by people who either don't understand animal ag or deliberately try to undermine the business of animal agriculture. And unfortunately, I've learned that there are far more of the latter type than I ever realized. Humane animal treatment shelter employees who are not state trained or approved often have no special training for animal handling whatsoever, certainly none for the safe handling of livestock, and are oftentimes volunteers on par with government agencies, as mentioned in 3A. That's a problem. We have inadvertently created a long list of unintended consequences and assaults on private property rights. Animals are private property, precious private property that many of us consider family members, but they are private property just the same. And in the case of livestock, they come with a title. This bill only addresses illegal trespass situations related to seizures and confiscations on private property. Again, we need shelters and animal advocates to influence animal owners and policy and educate on behalf of animals and assist law enforcement when asked in the care and rehab of abused, neglected animals after they have been legally seized and confiscated. But the operative word here is legally. Legal confiscation of private property requires law enforcement to have probable cause, attain a warrant, provide oversight of the seizure process, as it is clearly stated in both our state and federal constitutions. I can testify from my own personal experience that illegal seizures can and has created many problems in a variety of ways, ranging from creating credibility issues for those of us who are trying to help animals and people through the lawful channels afforded us, to the interruption and contamination of an ongoing investigation, which has made prosecution impossible, to injury of animal caused by people who do not know how to safely handle livestock, to illegal seizure and confiscation followed by subsequent spay or castration of breeding stock. You can't uncastrate one. And finally, and most disturbing, the taking of an animal's life by chemical euthanasia. You can't bring one back from the dead either. All done without animal owners' consent or receiving due process in a court of law.
I'm testifying today as a citizen of Cascade County, state of Montana, this great United States of America. And it is because in August of 2006, I personally had two guard dogs. Muffin and Mary Kay are the two guard dogs that were taken from our premises without notification, let alone a warrant of any kind, by the sheriff and animal control agents. Now you have to understand that when these dogs were taken, because they are not domesticated animals, they are not domesticated. They don't come out to you and you scratch their ears. This breed, the Charmerae Cross, was developed by the University of Connecticut. And in order for them to maintain their instincts of protection of their charges, you must not overhandle them. So they were not overgroomed. We did not scratch their ears, no matter how beautiful they are. They're beautiful white dogs that stand about 2 feet tall and are just elegant looking dogs. And you just really want to hug them and play with them, but that could not be allowed if they were going to maintain their sensibilities about protection. So in order for them to be captured by anybody, it would have been quite extreme measures taken. These dogs were well cared for. They were spayed females who were licensed, vaccinated, and had tags and chips to verify ownership and vaccination history and contact information of the ownership. I cannot stress that we had daily contact with these dogs. We knew immediately they were gone, even though they lived 6 miles away from our residence. They were well fed. We did not know where they'd gone, and we started searching immediately. It took us 6 days before I was able to locate the dogs at the shelter. And it was through the help of a veterinarian that I was able to locate those dogs, because she took her chip reader, microchip reader, to the shelter and was able to verify that our dogs were there. So I had to bail my dogs out of jail and pay for vaccinations which they had already received, pay for treatment which was completely contrary to what the University of Connecticut recommended. They were groomed, and when I found them and retrieved them, they were so shaken. I mean, they were so upset. They were virtually physically shaking. Now, I don't know whether there was damage done to the spinal column of the one dog or not, but after 3 days when we got her home, she died. I never did have an autopsy done on the dog, but Muffin was a wonderful dog, and she was part of our herd management, our flock management against predators. We lost animals because we did not have those guard dogs with our flock. We lost animals. The dogs as puppies were expensive, but we were willing to pay that expense because they were a prevention measure, and they were a humane prevention measure, and they were wonderful. That we lost thousands of dollars virtually between the dogs and livestock lost because the dogs were not with the flock. Sorry if I seem a little emotional, but these were treasured. Even though I couldn't scratch their ears, I loved them. We did lodge a formal complaint in this case with the Cascade County Sheriff's Department, and they were all apologies, but it didn't bring back Muffin 3 days later when she died, and it didn't restore the thousands of dollars that we lost because of them being taken from our property.
We had complaints steady about the animal shelter and animals, about animals being picked up. When the owner came down, they were told that they weren't suitable to own an animal and were refused to have the animal even if they would pay, which was about $70 to get the animal back. It got so egregious that we redid our ordinance because a neighbor got in a feud with a guy that paid $5,000 for a male beagle to breed. And while he was gone for 2 weeks on work and his boy was taking care of it, the dog was took out of the backyard, the collar was left. When they finally tracked the dog down to the animal shelter, they admitted they had the dog. They already had it neutered, but they refused to let the guy have the dog because he wasn't capable of being able to have the dog according to them. Our ordinance was changed so that only deputies, sheriff officers would be able to pick up a dog. We also replaced who was taking care of the housing. It dropped from 500 dogs. The last 2 years there was 25 dogs. So it was a revenue for that shelter.
Here as a rancher from Hamilton, Montana, I had been on the receiving end of the Humane Society in Hamilton. They tried to take my cows from me because they happened to be thin. When it's grass season, the grass is just starting to come on, cows leave the hay to chase the grass. We had over a ton of third cutting alfalfa on the ground. They were not eating it. A representative from the Federal Humane Society had to come out and investigate. Where was the sheriff? Where was the deputy? I had to call my veterinarian to get on the phone with them to make them back off. We need this bill tightened so only authority is the sheriff and the deputy.
Watch more reports from Sky Country Journal online. I'll see you out there.